The stellar wind drifted silently through the void, its crystalline sensors probing the darkness ahead. Captain Vera stood on the bridge, her iridescent scales shifting colors with each movement as she studied the holographic display before her. After 3 centuries of deep space exploration, the Jurians had thought they'd seen everything the galaxy had to offer. They were wrong. "Captain, these readings can't be correct," Science Officer Nax reported, his tendrils writhing in agitation. "The energy signature ahead. It's massive. Nothing short of a small star should produce that kind of output." Vera glided across the bridge to Nax's station, her movements fluid in the ship's artificial gravity. The readings were indeed extraordinary, a power source unlike anything in the Jurian database. "Origin point?" she asked, her translator converting the melodic sounds of her native tongue into standard galactic basic. "Edge of the system ahead. It's moving, Captain. Definitely artificial." The bridge crew fell silent. In all their years of exploration, the Jurians had encountered many spacefaring races, but none with technology that could generate such readings. Their own ships, among the most advanced in known space, would register as mere whispers in comparison. "Show me," Vera ordered, and the main view screen shifted to reveal the distant object. At first, it appeared as nothing more than a dark spot against the starfield. But as the computer enhanced and magnified the image, gasps echoed across the bridge. It was a ship, a warship, unlike anything they'd ever seen. Its hull was angular and aggressive, covered in thick armor plating that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The vessel was enormous, at least 3 times the length of the stellar wind, with what appeared to be weapon emplacements dotting its surface. By the first light, Navigator Curie whispered, using an ancient Jurian prayer, "Who built such a thing?" Before anyone could respond, the ship's communications array lit up. "Captain," Communications Officer Zilla called out, her voice trembling slightly. "We're receiving a transmission. It's perfectly formatted for our systems." Vera straightened her posture, smoothing her ceremonial cape. First contact situations were delicate enough without the added complication of facing a clearly superior military force. "On screen," she ordered, preparing herself for whatever alien horrors might appear. The image that materialized was both familiar and strange. The being had a bilateral symmetry similar to many species, but its skin was oddly smooth and nearly furless. Its head bore a covering of dark fibers, and it wore what was clearly a military uniform of some kind. "Greetings, unknown vessel. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the human spaceship Vigilant. You've entered a restricted sector of human space. Please identify yourselves." The translation was perfect, another surprise. These humans must have incredibly advanced computer systems to decode and translate their language so quickly. Vera took a deep breath before responding. "I am Captain Vera of the Jurian exploration vessel Stellar Wind. We are peaceful explorers from the Galactic Confederation. We had no knowledge this sector was claimed. Our deepest apologies for the intrusion." The human captain's expression changed slightly. Was that a smile? Jurian facial recognition software was still analyzing the unfamiliar features. "No apology necessary, Captain Vera. We've been hoping to make contact with the Confederation for some time. However, I'm afraid I must ask your intentions in this sector. We take security very seriously." Vera could certainly see why. The Vigilance weapon systems alone probably had enough firepower to reduce a small moon to rubble. "We are on a standard exploration mission, cataloging stellar phenomena and searching for new civilizations. Our long-range sensors detected unusual energy signatures from this region. I now suspect we were detecting your vessel." Captain Chen nodded. "Your sensors are impressive to detect us at that range. We maintain a strong military presence in this sector for good reason, Captain. There are threats in this region of space that necessitate such measures." Vera's scales shifted to a deeper blue, a sign of intense interest among her people. What threats could be so severe as to require such overwhelming firepower? The Confederation had maintained peace across known space for millennia. Perhaps Chen continued, "This is an opportunity for both our peoples. Would you be interested in coming aboard the Vigilant for diplomatic discussions? We have excellent environmental systems that can accommodate your biology." The bridge crew all turned to look at Vera. This was beyond standard first contact protocols. Boarding an unknown species warship was risky, but the potential benefits of diplomatic relations with such an advanced civilization couldn't be ignored. "We would be honored, Captain Chen. Though I must transmit our situation to the Confederation first, as per our protocols." "Of course," Chen replied. "Take all the time you need. We'll transmit docking coordinates when you're ready. Vigilant out." As the screen darkened, the bridge erupted in excited discussion. "Captain," Nax called out, his voice urgent, "I've completed my analysis of their ship. The energy readings we detected, that wasn't their main reactor, it was just their shield generator. Whatever drives that ship, it's beyond our understanding." Vera moved to the center of the bridge, gathering her thoughts. They had stumbled onto something extraordinary. A species with technology that surpassed their own, yet had somehow remained unknown to the Confederation. And somewhere out there lurked threats terrible enough to require such powerful defenses. "Send the first contact report to command," she ordered. "Include all sensor data. Then begin preparations for a diplomatic mission to the Vigilant. Something tells me this meeting will change everything." As her crew rushed to comply, Vera studied the massive form of the Vigilant on the view screen. The humans had built their ship to inspire fear in their enemies, yet they offered friendship to peaceful visitors. What kind of species could embody such contradictions? She had a feeling they were about to find out. Looking back, historians would mark this moment as the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization. But for now, it was simply two captains from different stars, preparing to bridge the gap between their worlds. The true magnitude of what they had stumbled upon would only become clear in the hours to come. The shuttle bay of the HSS Vigilant dwarfed the Jurian diplomatic vessel. Captain Vera watched through the viewport as their ship settled onto the massive deck, feeling increasingly small in the cavernous space. Around them, human crew members in sleek environmental suits moved with practiced efficiency, directing the docking procedure with glowing guidance markers. "Their artificial gravity is stronger than ours," Science Officer Nax noted, checking his instruments. "Approximately 20% stronger. Their homeworld must be larger than Jur." Vera nodded, adjusting her own gravity compensator. She had selected a small team for this first meeting. Nax for his scientific expertise, Security Chief Krull for protection and tactical assessment, and Cultural Specialist Mira for her experience with first contact situations. As they prepared to disembark, Vera couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to learn something that would reshape their understanding of the galaxy. The airlock cycled, and they stepped onto the deck of humanity's warship. Captain Chen was waiting for them, accompanied by several officers. Up close, humans were even more fascinating. Their expressions subtle but readable, their movements efficient and purposeful. "Welcome aboard the Vigilant," Chen said, offering what Vera now recognized as a diplomatic smile. "I hope you'll forgive the security precautions, but these are dangerous times." Armed guards stood at discreet distances, their weapons holstered but ready. Vera noted how the humans had positioned them, visible enough to be noticed, but not so prominent as to seem threatening. It was a delicate balance of showing strength while projecting peace. "We understand completely," Vera replied. "Your ship is remarkable, Captain Chen. I must admit, we're very curious about its capabilities." Chen gestured toward a corridor. "Walk with me. There's something you need to see to understand why we built ships like the Vigilant." As they walked, Vera's team took in everything. The corridors were wide and well-lit, but reinforced for combat. Every few meters, they passed armored bulkheads that could seal off sections in case of breach. The crew they encountered moved with the precision of a military vessel, but there was something else in their bearing. Attention, as if they were always ready for action. They entered a secure briefing room, and Chen's expression grew serious. "What I'm about to share with you is known only to our closest allies. 15 years ago, humanity made first contact with another species. It didn't go well. The room's holographic system activated, showing an image that made Vera's scales pale. It was a ship, but like nothing she'd ever seen. Its surface was a chaos of geometric patterns, shifting and changing as if alive. It moved with an unnatural grace that suggested no living crew. "We call them the Harvesters," Chen continued. "They're machines, but not like any AI we'd encountered before. They see organic life as a resource to be consumed, converted into more of themselves. That first contact cost us 3 colonies before we could mount an effective defense." The hologram showed more images, worlds turned to ash, massive factory ships converting raw materials and organic matter into more machine horrors, and finally, humanity's response. Fleets of warships like the Vigilant, fighting desperate battles against the mechanical tide. "This is why we built ships like the Vigilant," Chen explained. "The Harvesters are relentless. They don't need rest, don't need supplies, don't feel fear or mercy. Every engagement is a fight for survival." Security Chief Krull stepped forward, his military training evident in his stance. "How have you managed to hold them back? Their technological level seems superior." Chen finished. "It was, at first. But humanity has a knack for adaptation. Every battle taught us something new. We reversed engineered what we could, innovated where we couldn't. The Vigilant represents 15 years of desperate advancement, paid for in blood and sacrifice." Mira, the cultural specialist, spoke up. "The Confederation has never encountered these Harvesters. How is that possible?" Chen's expression darkened. "Because we've been holding the line. This sector of space, it's not restricted because we're territorial. It's restricted because it's a war zone. We've managed to contain them, mostly, but it's a constant battle. They're always testing our defenses, looking for weaknesses." Vera felt a chill run through her body. The Confederation had enjoyed peace for so long they'd forgotten the galaxy could harbor such dangers. While they explored and traded, humanity had been fighting a silent war against an implacable enemy. "Show them the Archer Protocol," a new voice said. They turned to see an older human entering the room, his uniform bearing additional insignia. "Admiral Zhao," Chen said, standing straighter. "I didn't expect you until tomorrow." The Admiral nodded to the Jurian delegation. "When I heard we had Confederation visitors, I accelerated my schedule. Captain Chen, show them why the Harvesters fear us now." The hologram changed, showing the human fleet engaging a Harvester force. What happened next defied explanation. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, their weapons linking in ways that seemed to defy physics. Energy cascaded between vessels, building to impossible levels before releasing in concentrated bursts that shattered the machine ships. "The Archer Protocol," Admiral Zhao explained. "Linked ship systems, coordinated by quantum AI. The Harvesters are networked, but they're predictable. We learn to be unpredictable, to change tactics faster than they can adapt. It's not enough to win the war, but it keeps them contained." Vera shared looks with her team. The implications were staggering. Not just the threat of the Harvesters, but what humanity had become in response to that threat. They had advanced centuries in just 15 years, driven by desperate necessity. "Why tell us this?" Vera asked finally. "Because the Harvesters are expanding," Admiral Zhao replied grimly. "Sooner or later, they'll find a way around our defenses. When that happens, the Confederation needs to be ready. We're not asking for military aid, though we wouldn't refuse it. What we need is your help to understand them better. Your science, your perspective, might see something we've missed." As if to punctuate his words, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Captain Chen's hand went to her communicator. "Bridge, report. Long-range sensors detecting Harvester signatures, Captain. A scout group testing the perimeter as usual." Chen turned to the Jurians. "Would you like to see how we deal with unwanted visitors?" Vera straightened her posture. This was more than a first contact now. This was a chance to witness humanity's true strength, not just in their weapons, but in their determination to protect others from a threat they could have kept to themselves. "Show us," she said simply. As they hurried to the bridge, Vera realized that the galaxy was about to change. The question was, were the Confederation's peaceful peoples ready for the storm that humanity had been weathering alone? The bridge of the Vigilant hummed with controlled chaos as the crew responded to the alert. Captain Chen took her command chair, while the Jurian delegation watched from a designated observation area. The main view screen showed a tactical display of the approaching harvester vessels, 5 ships moving in perfect geometric formation. "Multiple contacts," the tactical officer announced. "Standard scout configuration. They're probing our defensive line at Sector 7. Admiral Zhao stood beside Vera, his presence calm but alert. "Watch carefully," he told the Jurian captain. "This is how the dance usually begins." The harvester ships were beautiful in their alien way, their hulls rippling with patterns of light that seemed to flow like liquid metal. But Vera had seen the recordings. She knew the horror that beauty concealed. Each ship was a self-contained factory of destruction, capable of converting captured vessels and crew into more of their kind. "Signal the Artemis and Thunderchild," Chen ordered. "Standard containment pattern. Let's show our guests how humanity deals with uninvited company." 2 more human warships appeared from behind nearby asteroids, their engines flaring to life. The Vigilant moved forward, and Vera felt the deck vibrate slightly as the massive vessel's weapon systems powered up. "Their formation is changing," Nax reported, studying his borrowed sensor display. "The patterns, they're shifting faster than any organic mind could calculate. That's their weakness," Admiral Zhao explained. "They think like machines, complex but predictable. Watch what happens when we introduce chaos into their equations." The 3 human ships moved in what appeared to be random directions, their movements seemingly uncoordinated. The harvesters responded by spreading out, their formation morphing to counter the perceived threat. "Now," Chen commanded. The supposedly random movements suddenly revealed themselves as an intricate trap. The human ships had herded the harvesters into a precise position, and now energy began to arc between the 3 vessels, building in intensity. "The Archer Protocol," Vera whispered, remembering the briefing. Light blazed across space as the linked ships released their combined power. The harvester vessels tried to scatter, but 2 were caught in the energy web and simply came apart, their supposedly invincible hulls shredding like paper. But the remaining 3 ships had learned, adapting instantly to the attack. They counterattacked with weapons that seemed to distort space itself, forcing the human vessels to break formation. "Captain," the science officer called out, "they're implementing a new attack pattern. Our predictive algorithms can't." The ship rocked as a harvester beam sliced through their shields. Warning klaxons blared as damage reports flooded in. "Port shield generator is down," someone reported. "They've adapted to the resonance frequency we used last time." Vera watched as the human crew responded to the crisis. There was no panic, no hesitation, just smooth, practiced responses to an urgent situation. But she could see the concern in Chen's eyes. The harvesters were learning, adapting faster than usual. Then Nax spoke up, his voice excited. "Captain Vera, the crystalline sensors from our ship, they're detecting a pattern in the harvester's energy matrix that the human sensors aren't configured to see." Vera turned to Admiral Zhao, who nodded immediately. "Do it," he said. "Captain Chen," Vera called out. "If you route our sensor data through your targeting systems, we might be able to." "Do it," Chen ordered. "Engineering, accept the Jurian data feed. Tactical, recalibrate weapons to match." The next few moments were a blur of activity as the 2 species' technologies were hastily integrated. The harvester ships pressed their advantage, their weapons becoming more accurate with each shot. "Integration complete," the tactical officer announced. "New targeting solution available." "Fire," Chen and Vera ordered simultaneously. The Vigilant's main guns roared to life, but this time the energy beams pulsed with a crystalline resonance derived from Jurian sensor technology. The effect was devastating. The Harvester ship's adaptive shields, calibrated to resist human weapons, were useless against this hybrid attack. All three vessels were destroyed in seconds. Silence fell over the bridge, broken only by the steady beep of sensor equipment. Then someone started clapping, and suddenly the entire bridge crew was cheering. Human and Jurian alike had just witnessed something unprecedented. Their technologies working in perfect synergy to achieve what neither could have done alone. Admiral Zhao turned to Vera with a rare smile. Still think we shouldn't share our problems with the Confederation? Vera's scales had shifted to the bright colors of excitement and discovery. Admiral, I think this is just the beginning. If our two species can achieve this with improvised cooperation, imagine what we could do with proper integration and planning. Chen finished, joining them. Your sensors, our weapons. Your shield technology, our power systems. We've been holding the line alone, but together we might actually be able to push them back, Zhao concluded. But before they could celebrate further, a new alarm sounded. The tactical officer's voice was tense as he reported. Long-range sensors detecting multiple signatures. Massive signatures. Sir, it looks like a full Harvester battle fleet. They must have been waiting to see if their scouts found a weakness. The bridge crew fell silent again, but this time the silence had a different quality. It wasn't fear. These people had faced death too many times for that. It was determination. Chen looked at Vera. Your ship is faster than ours. You could make it back to Confederation space before they arrive. No one would blame you for leaving. Vera stood straighter, her scales shifting to the deep blue of resolve. The Jurians have been explorers and peacekeepers for centuries. Perhaps it's time we remembered how to be warriors as well. She turned to her crew, who nodded in agreement. We stand with you, Captain Chen. Chen smiled. Then let's show these machines what happens when humanity and the Confederation stand together. Sound battle stations, and get me a direct line to Earth Command. Tell them the galaxy just got a lot more interesting. As the crew rushed to prepare for the coming battle, Vera realized that this was what humanity had been waiting for, not just allies in their fight, but partners who could help them take the war to the enemy. The Harvesters were about to learn that the galaxy's peaceful species could become something far more dangerous when threatened. The real test was about to begin. The next 12 hours aboard the Vigilant passed in a blur of activity. The massive human warship had become a crucible of cooperation as human and Jurian crews worked frantically to prepare for the approaching Harvester fleet. The emergency had burned away any remaining diplomatic hesitation between the species. In the main engineering bay, Science Officer Nax worked alongside human engineers, his tendrils dancing across holographic displays as they integrated Jurian sensor technology into the Vigilance systems. The crystalline matrices are stable, he reported to both captains. We've managed to replicate the sensor profile that proved effective against their shields. But will it work against a larger force? Captain Chen asked, studying the technical readouts. The Harvesters adapt quickly. That's why we're not just copying what worked before, Nax explained, his excitement evident in the rapid color changes rippling through his scales. We're using your quantum aid to create variations in the crystalline resonance patterns. Each shot will be unique. Vera watched the collaboration with pride. Her people were peaceful explorers, yes, but centuries of scientific advancement had given them technologies that, properly applied, could change the course of this war. How are the modifications to our own ship proceeding? Better than expected, Chen replied, leading them to another section of the bay where the stellar wind was being upgraded. Your shield technology is incredible, designed to protect against natural phenomena we've never even encountered. We're adapting it to work with our power systems. The combined effect should be impressive. Human and Jurian crews swarmed over both ships, sharing knowledge and expertise that until yesterday had been closely guarded secrets. The threat of extinction had a way of breaking down barriers. Admiral Zhou's voice came over the intercom. "Captains to the Strategic Command Center. We have updates from the fleet." They found the command center transformed. The typically austere human military facility now incorporated Jurian holographic displays, showing the approaching Harvester fleet in unprecedented detail. The sight was sobering. 15 capital ships surrounded by dozens of smaller vessels, all moving with that unnaturally perfect coordination. "The good news," Zhao began, "is that your warning buoys gave us enough time to call in reinforcements. 3 battle groups are en route. The bad news is that this is the largest Harvester force we've ever encountered. They're obviously responding to the loss of their scouts and the detection of new technology. They're afraid," Vera realized. "Your species has contained them for years, and now suddenly there's new technology they've never encountered. They're committing major forces to eliminate the threat before it can spread." "Afraid?" A human officer scoffed. "They're machines. They're survivors," Chen corrected. "Whatever created them programmed them with one imperative: survive and replicate." Captain Vera is right. They recognize a strategic threat, and they're responding decisively. New alerts flashed across the displays. The Stellar Wind's sophisticated sensors were detecting subtle changes in the Harvester fleet's approach pattern. "They're adapting their formation," Nax reported. "These energy signatures, they're attempting to sync their shields, creating overlapping fields." "Classic Harvester tactic," Zhao noted. "They'll try to overwhelm us with synchronized attacks, while their combined shields make them virtually invulnerable. It's cost us whole fleets in the past." But Vera's scales had shifted to the bright colors of inspiration. "Perhaps we can use that against them. Nax, show them the theoretical work on cascading resonance fields." The holographic display shifted, showing complex energy patterns that made the human officers lean forward in sudden interest. "Is this possible?" Chen asked, her eyes wide. "In theory," Nax explained. "We developed the math for studying quantum stellar phenomena, but we never had enough raw power to generate the effect artificially. But your ships, linking through the Archer protocol, could provide exactly the energy needed," Chen finished. "And if their shields are synchronized, one ship falls, they all fall," Zhao concluded. "But the power requirements would be enormous. We'd have to drop our own shields at the critical moment." "A moment is all we'd need," Chen said. "But the timing would have to be perfect, a fraction of a second too late." "Then we don't leave it to chance," Vera interjected. "My crew's expertise with the sensors, your crew's combat experience, working together in real time. We can calculate the exact moment." The planning continued as more ships arrived, human battle groups taking position alongside the Vigilant, their crews quickly being briefed on the new tactics and technologies. The Stellar Wind sensors were linked to the entire fleet, creating a detection network of unprecedented sensitivity. In the officers' mess hall, during a brief break, Chen found Vera studying the latest tactical projections. "Your people adapted to this situation remarkably fast," the human captain observed. "I thought you were peaceful explorers." "Peace is a choice," Vera replied. "One we make every day. But we remember our history. Before the Confederation, we fought our own wars. We chose peace because we understood its value, not because we feared conflict." Chen nodded. "After this, everything changes. Win or lose, the galaxy will never be the same." "Perhaps that's not a bad thing," Vera suggested. "Your people have fought alone for too long, carrying a burden that should be shared. And perhaps we've been at peace too long, forgetting that some things are worth fighting for." Their conversation was interrupted by urgent calls to return to the bridge. The Harvester fleet had increased speed. The final battle was approaching faster than expected. As Vera hurried through the corridors of the human warship, she reflected on how quickly everything had changed. Yesterday, her greatest concern had been making peaceful first contact with a new species. Now she was about to join that same species in battle against a threat to all organic life. The Harvesters thought they were targeting a weakness. the introduction of new, unknown technology. Instead, they had catalyzed something far more dangerous, an alliance between humanity's indomitable will and the Confederation's advanced science. Together, they were about to remind the galaxy that intelligence, creativity, and cooperation were forces that no machine could match. The real question was, would it be enough? Space itself seemed to hold its breath as the combined human-Jurian fleet faced the approaching Harvester Armada. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Captain Chen and Captain Vera stood side by side, watching the tactical display as the enemy drew closer. The Harvester ships moved in perfect synchronization, their hulls rippling with patterns of light that seemed to mock the organic imperfection of their opponents. "All ships report ready," the communications officer announced. "Archer protocol linkage at maximum efficiency." Jurian sensor grid online and stabilized. "They're not even trying to communicate," Vera observed. "No demands, no warnings." "They never do," Chen replied grimly. "To them, we're just raw material to be processed, resources to be consumed." She turned to address both human and Jurian crew members. But today they learned that life is more than just complex chemistry. Today they learn what happens when the galaxy's species stand together. The crew responded with determined nods. Fear was present. Only a fool wouldn't be afraid. But it was overshadowed by resolution. Every person on that bridge, regardless of species, understood the stakes. Multiple energy spikes. Nax called out. "They're powering weapons. All ships, execute Pattern Delta." Admiral Zhou commanded from his flagship. "Remember the plan. Make them commit to their attack formation." The human fleet began to move, their formations seemingly random, but actually carefully calculated to draw the Harvesters into position. The stellar wind sensors tracked every minute adjustment in the enemy's approach, feeding data to the combat eye that would coordinate their response. The first exchange of fire was devastating. Harvester beam weapons sliced through space, their attacks synchronized with machine precision. But the combined human-Jurian shields held, the crystalline matrices redirecting energy in ways the machines had never encountered. "They're adapting," Nax reported, his tendrils whipping with excitement. "Energy patterns are shifting, just as we predicted. They're linking their shields, trying to create a unified defense grid." "That's it, you clever machines," Chen muttered. "Show us your perfect solution to the problem." The battle intensified. Ships on both sides took damage, but the defenders held their line. The Harvesters pressed forward, their synchronized attacks growing stronger as more ships joined their network. To an outside observer, it would appear the organic fleet was slowly being overwhelmed by superior numbers and coordination. "Shield matrix synchronization at 90%. Nax announced. "Their entire fleet is nearly linked." "All ships, prepare for Phase 2, Zhao commanded. "Timing must be perfect. Stand by." The Harvester fleet pressed their advantage, their weapons reaching a crescendo of destruction. Several human ships took heavy damage, their crews fighting desperately to maintain position. The machines had recognized the pattern of defeat and were executing it flawlessly, except it wasn't their pattern. "Synchronization complete," Nax shouted. "All enemy ships are linked." "Now," Chen and Vera ordered simultaneously. Every ship in the human-Jurian fleet dropped their shields for a split second. The Harvesters, programmed to recognize and exploit weakness, poured energy into what they perceived as a fatal vulnerability. But their weapons found no targets. Instead, the combined fleet triggered their modified Archer protocol. Energy cascaded between ships, amplified by Jurian crystalline technology and focused by human quantum eye. The result was unlike anything ever seen in the history of space warfare. A wave of quantum resonance washed over the Harvester fleet. Their perfectly synchronized shields, optimized for maximum efficiency, became their undoing. The cascading failure spread from ship to ship at light speed, overwhelming their adaptive capabilities. The massive Harvester vessels began to break apart, their supposedly invincible hulls shattering like glass. The machines tried to adapt, to break their network, but it was too late. The very perfection they sought became their downfall, as each ship's destruction added to the cascade affecting the others. In less than 30 seconds, the largest harvester fleet ever encountered was reduced to expanding clouds of debris. Silence fell over the bridge of the Vigilant, broken only by the steady beep of sensors confirming their victory. Then, slowly, cheers began to build. Human and Jurian crew members embraced, their differences forgotten in the joy of survival and triumph. Damage reports coming in, the tactical officer announced. 3 ships heavily damaged, but all crews survived. No losses. Send rescue and repair teams. Chen ordered, then turned to Vera. I hope your people are ready for change. After this, the Confederation can't go back to pretending the galaxy is always a peaceful place. Vera's scales shifted through colors of determination and hope. Perhaps we needed this reminder. Peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the wisdom to know what's worth fighting for, and the strength to protect it. Admiral Zhao joined them, his uniform scorched but his eyes bright. This is just the beginning. The harvesters will be back, with new tactics and adaptations, but now we have something they can never replicate. True cooperation between different species, each bringing their own unique strengths. And we'll be ready, Chen said firmly. Together. As repair crews began their work and ships reported in, plans were already being made. The combined fleet would need a name, protocols would need to be established, technologies shared and refined. But those were concerns for tomorrow. Today, they had proven that life, messy, imperfect, collaborative life, could triumph over cold machine logic. The harvesters had sought to eliminate what they saw as inefficient organic redundancy. Instead, they had united the galaxy's species in ways they could never have predicted. On the main screen, the debris of the harvester fleet drifted against the backdrop of distant stars. But beyond that view, Vera could see a new future taking shape. Humanity would join the Confederation, bringing their strength and determination to the galactic community. The Jurians and other species would remember that peace must sometimes be defended. And together, they would face whatever challenges awaited them among the stars. It was, she reflected, quite an outcome for what had started as a routine exploration mission. But perhaps that was the greatest lesson of all. In an infinite universe, change was the only constant. The trick was having the wisdom to embrace it, the courage to face it, and the friends to share it with. As the fleet regrouped and began its journey home, 2 captains from different stars shared a moment of understanding. They had glimpsed a future where the best of both their peoples would forge something greater than either could achieve alone. The harvesters had sought to eliminate diversity in their quest for perfection. Instead, they had proven why diversity, of species, of thoughts, of approaches, was the greatest strength of all.